tell me about that rightward shift, because it seems to me, even in the southern West Virginia and parts that might be more conservative, like you said, when you talk the issues, they're open to progressive policies, but they don't really have any candidates strongly running on these things.
Well, I mean, the shift started before, 2014, but that's when we saw it in the in the elections. But, you go back to like the Upper Big Branch mine disaster when Joe Manchin was governor.
Tell the audience what happened.
So the Upper Big Branch mine disaster was, there was a mine in Raleigh County that exploded, and 29 miners died, and it was a Massey Energy mine. And Don Blankenship was the CEO of Massey Energy, and Manchin and Massey were really close friends and have been for as long as people could remember. But when that mine exploded, Manchin came down to play, the savior and put out food and hug people and kiss babies and whatnot. But, all of a sudden he hates, Don Blankenship. Don Blankenship's the worst. He needs to be, held accountable for what he did. But, Manchin takes Massey money and took Massey money even after the Upper Big Branch disaster. So, I mean, you see, like, people have been starting to see these little instances of things like that where one day they're on a boat together and the next day they hate each other. People start to see those little things unravel. So, that to me was a really poignant moment for West Virginians, like seeing that unfold on live national television where Manchin's talking bad about, Don Blankenship, but everyone in West Virginia knew up to that point that they were friends, and that he continued to take money from them until Massey folded. But now it's Alpha Natural Resources, which Manchin takes money from them now. So essentially he still does take money from the very company that caused that accident. And it wasn't an accident. It was because of negligence, and Don Blankenship went to jail for that. He willfully violated mine safety laws, and people were killed. So I think that the shift started, right around the turn, about 2010 is when it really started, and it's because people were starting to realize when they looked out their doors, nothing was changing. The Democratic Party had been in office for so long, and then you have Citizens United happens, so an untold amount of money pours into the state because they think it's an easy state, and it turned out to be pretty easy because you bombard people with propaganda that says the Democrats are the reason that you are in the position you're in because they've been in charge for so long. Look at where you're at. So when people go outside and they see, houses with cardboard for windows and their water's coming out of their sink brown and, foundations are sliding out from under their houses, and somebody's telling you constantly on every media that you consume that the Democrats are the reason for that, the Democrats were totally blindsided by that. They were not ready with any type of plan to negate that constant flow of propaganda. And I think that had a lot to do with it because it just started to flow in so fast and it was everywhere. And so people started saying, well, Democrats are the reason for this. Democrats did this. Democrats are awful. And then started to use the socialism into it. And it's like a lot of people here are older, so they grew up during the Red Scare. So it's adding that other layer of, oh my God, it's the scare of communism and socialism and all these scary things, and it just played on people's fear. And the Democratic Party just sat back and let it happen here. They were just like, well, what are we supposed to do? But other states have done really well navigating the propaganda and navigating Trump in a way to still connect with their voters, with their base. And West Virginia has not even tried to do that. They were just like, oh, well, we like gays. Yay for black people. And I'm like, that's not helping the situation. Like, I'm glad that you support minorities. That's part of what we're here for. But how can you claim to do that and at the same time be racist as on a live, live meeting? And it's just, there's so many layers to it. It's just so frustrating for people that like have seen it unfold and have been trying to stop it for so long that, you just feel kind of helpless,
The ironic thing is, I think Joe Manchin clearly loves the spotlight as, this tie-breaking vote, and, people call him President Manchin, but he could very well use his vote with, to leverage against Biden and the Democrats, yeah, I'll vote for removing the filibuster or X, Y, and Z. I want X amount to fix the water problem in West Virginia. I want X amount to start shifting these coal miners over to clean energy. I want X amount. West Virginia's healthcare situation is awful. I want X amount. I mean, I've spoken with people that describe Cancer Alley with cancer everywhere due to the coal mining industry here. So he could actually be using that leverage for positive things that, ironically, would help the Democratic Party win here. But he doesn't seem to want to do any of those things, which makes me wonder obviously, he's not the only politician bought off by donors, but what is his calculus? Because it seems to me he's in a position where he could actually be using his vote for good things, using his leverage, making demands for good things. But it seems like because clearly he doesn't believe in this kumbaya, we need to be bipartisan. That's just, smoke and mirrors. What do you see as the donor influence here? We know the amount of money he gets, but is he somehow making money off of this for a future life? What's his involvement with the donors here?
I mean, it's really hard to say exactly, what his end game really is. I would say, people have been talking about Manchin's going to retire from the Senate the last 2 times that he's run. Do I think he's going to retire? I don't think so. I think he enjoys where he's at too much to decide to back off now. People said he's going to come back and run for governor. Well, he didn't do that last time. He handpicked somebody and made sure that they ran. In fact, he's handpicked, the last 2 governors, that have ran, Jim Justice and then Ben Salango. But I'm not even sure what his plan is. I know he does polling every week in West Virginia, which is absurd, the amount of money he spends on polling. And he doesn't move until the polling moves. And I think that the party is doing an abysmal job of educating the public on what a lot of these things mean, because most people here watch Fox News. So, the infrastructure bill is bad. The voting rights bill is bad. Everything that we are fighting for is bad to a lot of people because they don't understand what it means. I think that education from the party would be a really positive thing to do as a way to kind of shift that narrative from people. But as Manchin's End Game, I'm not even sure. I know that how do you become a millionaire as a senator? That you're not making $1 million a year as a senator with your pay. So there's got to be something else going on. And it's just frustrating because, we live in literally one of the sickest and poorest states in the country. And, we've got chemical companies up and down these rivers, this river that runs right through Charleston, that just dump products right into the rivers and doesn't matter. Charleston had a chemical spill just a few years ago where, 350,000 people were without water. And, Manchin comes down and hands out bottles of water. Well, okay, kiss my ass, that bottle of water is great, but what are you going to do to stop him from spilling stuff into the water supply to begin with? I mean...
It's getting a lot of money from those chemical companies.
And it's just like, it's all performative politics from him. It's just come and kiss babies and hand out water and pick up trash or whatever, but it doesn't really positively impact the people on the ground in West Virginia that are actually struggling.
I want to ask you also, because, the media locally is abysmal, nationally is abysmal, but they kind of don't kind of point out the obvious, like Joe Biden is the president of the United States. He could publicly muscle Joe Manchin. He could publicly shame them. He could go to West Virginia and speak out. Frankly, Obama could have done the same exact thing and used his rhetorical skills, even though he was, full of shit mostly, to go to Mitch McConnell, go stand at a bridge, shame Mitch McConnell. Those things actually work. Senators, congresspeople do not like to be shamed with their voters. But Biden, from what I can see, is trying to have these conciliatory meetings, give away half the store to Joe Manchin, and then, cry, cheer for, wax poetic about bipartisanship. But I don't really get the feeling on the ground in West Virginia these people care about bipartisanship, or anywhere else really. They care about issues like that. But again, they're not getting anything from the state party here or the Democrat. I mean, Manchin only won by a little bit in 1% in 2018. So what's your take on Biden? I doubt you had high expectations, but it's like this theater that he can't do anything, and Manchin has all this power. I mean, Lyndon B. Johnson, for all the bad he did, he didn't play that way. I mean, he muscled the hell out of senators.
I think that, people are just, I think Trump left such a bad taste in everyone's mouth because he was just such a asshole constantly that people are afraid to muscle and play, hardball with each other. And, Manchin is getting off so easy because Biden is just, let's have these secret meetings and we'll trade back and forth. But what the hell is the trade-off? What does Manchin have to give, really? I mean, I'm not even sure. It's just frustrating as a West Virginian to see that, Biden won't do anything. The National Democratic Party won't do anything because they can, they get off easy too. They can blame everything on Manchin. That's why our platform won't go through, because Manchin won't do anything. Okay, well, stop giving him money. Stop funding him. Stop giving him everything he wants, and maybe he'll turn around. The only thing that moves Manchin is either the polls in West Virginia or money. That's it. So if they want him to move, they're going to have to use the almighty dollar to do it, because changing the narrative in West Virginia is going to take too long. They've got to stop funding him. And I know he gets money from the DNC, the DCCC, the state party, all of that. I know that. I've seen it. I've looked at it time and time again. He gets a ton of money from them. Stop funding him. If you really stand behind the platform that you have given to the American people as your wokeness platform, stop funding Manchin and Kristen Semina and all these people that are blocking things, and make it happen. Because that's the only way you're going to do it, because it's the only thing that talks to these people is money.
And I want to ask you, because a lot of our viewers and just progressives in general are starting to say, you got a D next to your name, I don't care if you're progressive. Not happening. I'm done voting with the Democratic Party. I'm done trying to build within the party or take over the party. Jimmy Dore, I think, says the Democratic Party, you don't change the Democratic Party changes you. So what is your take on, you're obviously fighting here in West Virginia to kind of take over or reform the state party. What do you say to those people who say you're wasting your time? Joe Manchin and his ilk are too corrupt, too powerful, and we need to build a powerful third party movement.
I mean, I used to be one of the people that was all for a third party, and I still think that it would be great. I think the two-party system is awful. But until we get to that point, there's not enough people to sustain a third party right now, especially in West Virginia. We have a third party. It's the Mountain Party. It's a progressive party. But people are so afraid to move to that party because they have a bad rap in West Virginia, because they've never really done anything. They're kind of the joke party to a lot of people. So, it's hard to take over that party because you don't want to be seen as a joke from day one. And we're in a really unique position in West Virginia to actually take over the party and make a change. If Manchin stops getting votes, Manchin can't win. And a lot of people have started withholding votes for Manchin. That's how he damn near lost in the last election, because people are saying, I'll vote in all these other elections, but I'm not voting for Manchin, and I'm one of those people. I will not vote for him. I never have, and I never will. I don't care what he's running for. I don't care how close it is. I don't care who he's running against. I'm not going to vote for him because he does not represent me. He's shown me that he does not care about my family or my state, so piss on him. If the money is all he's worried about, then let the money get him in office. I just don't see a point in voting for people like that. But to me, changing the party is important because there's so many people that really believe in the values that the party's supposed to be. It's supposed to be inclusive. It's supposed to be diverse. It's supposed to be, equitable. It's supposed to be all those things. And the only way that we're going to get there is if people fight to make it happen.